The Golden State Warriors have their hands full this offseason, bro. They have to retain the best point guard of all time and soon to be the greatest point guard of all time, Stephen Curry. And, you know, people will say, oh, Stephen Curry spent so many years with the organization, he gonna stay. That's not true, bro. When you have a peak like this, you try and go win championships. Look at LeBron. Yeah, he had like one of the best peaks ever. He was always chasing a championship and even is chasing a championship right now. But we've seen superstars that have been on one team for a long time just flip switches. We saw it this season. James Harden was with the Houston Rockets, and he could have very well stayed with the Houston Rockets, and they would just be a mediocre team. You know, maybe a 6 seed, a play-in team. They'd probably take the first round of 6 games. He'd have a good MVP caliber season. But he left, and he left for a super team. That is exactly the same thing Stephen Curry will do if this situation doesn't get better in Golden State. Now let's talk about the Golden State Warriors situation right now. To me, I think it's mediocre. I think the Golden State Warriors ceiling right now is being a 6 seed and being a team that loses in the second round. I don't see them making the Western Conference Finals. They will have Clay back next year, but that is a part of the problem. Klay Thompson has gotten hurt a lot, and he's going to lose impact on the defensive end because of those 2 huge leg injuries that he went through. Sure, he's still going to be an elite shooter, but he is not a championship number 2 anymore. And even then, although Steph has not slowed down at all, he is turning 34 next year. 34, which means his bones are going to be a little bit weaker. His durability is not going to be as good. We saw it with LeBron even this year. You know, he had one small injury that he could heal quickly if he was younger, but since he's so old, it took him a while to heal, and he was just never the same this year. So that is my main concern with the Golden State Warriors is, yes, they have a chance to be like a top 5 seed, top 4 seed. They have a chance to break out because Stephen Curry is ridiculous. But to me, their durability is very, very questionable. Like Draymond Green was missing time. And not only that, Draymond Green is as good as your best player. The only way he'll be great is if your best players are playing the most minutes. And we saw that even this season. He was definitely not this Draymond Green we've seen in years past. He's obviously still an anchor defensively, but for Draymond Green to be the most impactful player that he can be, his help needs to be healthy, and he needs to have the most help possible. So the Golden State Warriors need to make some offseason moves right now to try and make this roster good enough to compete. If not, they have a chance at losing Stephen Curry in free agency. That shit would fucking suck. Okay, let's start with free agency. The Warriors lost this season. And what I mean by lost is obviously they didn't make the playoffs, but they also didn't get a very high value draft pick. They're at 14, but they do get the Minnesota pick, so that helps them a lot. But with free agency, they lost. Kelly Oubre Jr. says he wants a starting role. That ain't going to happen when Klay Thompson comes back. So now you got to hope to sign and trade him to one team if you can. And that's just going to be a very interesting situation. He said he has no plans to come off the bench. And also in free agency, the Warriors have no money. They only have a $5.9 million taxpayer mid-level exception. And that can give you some solid free agents, but it's going to be people who don't move the needle as much as you need to become a contending team. So what the Warriors were banking on was the Clippers would upset and lose in the first round. That's what they needed to happen to try and get Kawhi Leonard on their team, to try and sign and trade Kawhi Leonard to the Golden State Warriors. But that ain't happening. I'm almost sure that Kawhi is going to sign a 1+1 or even a big old extension to try and maximize his money in LA because he loves LA so much. And also LA, they did more than they were expected to when Kawhi went down. So he's definitely going to stay in LA today. So with that $5.9 million level exception, let's try and see what free agents they can get. I think they can get Cody Zeller, JJ Redick, James Johnson, maybe Justice Winslow, Kelly Olynyk, Trevor Ariza. I mean, the thing is that that's not going to get them much. They're in a pretty bad situation when it comes to free agency this season. Okay, but then the next point of action for the Golden State Warriors is try to get an amazing draft. So with the 7th overall pick, they get Moses Moody, who's a backup wing, who has a lot of promise on defense, can shoot the 3-ball, and can play great minutes for you off the bench. Moses Moody would be the best pick here. If Davion Mitchell slides to him and you don't get Moses Moody, I guess you take Davion Mitchell, but you do need guard play off the bench. They were running Brad Wanamaker off the bench this season. That is just not going to cut it for a contending team. And then at the number 14th overall pick, they should take Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson, I think he has pretty good potential. I like him as a prospect. He can dunk. He's very athletic. He's a very good defensive wing, and he shows promise on the three-point shot, shooting 44% at Duke. Okay, then let's get into the trades. The juicy part of the offseason, a trade that can make Golden State an immediate contender, is Damian Lillard to the Golden State Warriors. Now, I don't want Damian Lillard to leave, bro. I like Damian Lillard. I love his game. I wouldn't want to see him on a super team. But this would get a ring for him, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. And shit, it would just further the dynasty. So the trade would be Damian Lillard for Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, the 7th pick, the 14th pick, and 2 future first-round picks. Golden State had a lot of problems with not enough scores when Stephen Curry was off the floor. If you can stagger their minutes and try and make sure Damian Lillard or Stephen Curry is on the floor at all times, they'll make it one of the best offenses in the league, maybe only behind Brooklyn. And Damian Lillard, he brings an amazing ceiling to this team. I feel like they can be a championship contender the second that Damian Lillard walks through that door. And shit, Damian Lillard's a winner. We saw what he did in these playoffs. Damian Lillard and Stephen Curry would just be a nightmare. The next potential player that they can get is Bradley Beal. Over the last 10 seasons, every superstar that has been on a Russell Westbrook-led team has won it out. Kevin Durant, James Harden, all those players. So in this situation, the Warriors would send Andrew Wiggins and James Wiseman and the 7th pick and the 14th pick over to the Wizards for Bradley Beal. If I'm the Wizards, I don't do this. I feel like Bradley Beal can give me another good season, and we should trade him for some more assets. Andrew Wiggins, his ceiling is unknown. I think he's already met his ceiling as a mediocre starter. He's an okay starter that can play good defense, and that's it. And he can't shoot that well, so putting him in a backcourt with Russell Westbrook just wouldn't be the best. James Wiseman has a very good ceiling, but I mean, the problem with him was his injuries. This season, he started off the year being pretty good. He showed some promise as an outside shot, showed some promise on defense, was a pretty good lob threat with Draymond Green, and then all of a sudden he got injured and he just wasn't good the rest of the season. So if I'm the Wizards, I don't do this, but Bradley Beal would definitely extend the dynasty. They will then be a top 3 team in their conference. And this next trade is if only Cat gets disgruntled. But look, if Cat gets disgruntled, tired of the organization of losing, which I don't think will happen, you can probably get a trade off if you're the Golden State Warriors. You can trade Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, the 7th pick, which will be trading their pick back to them, and another first in the 2023. I wouldn't trade him the 14th. I don't think the Wolves see any value in that pick, really. They can get Jalen Johnson at that spot, but I mean, the 14th pick is only as good as a role player most of the times. But Cat would fit seamlessly in this offense and make him deadly. I know all these trades so far have been superstar to borderline superstar trades, but shit, hey, that's the only way that Golden State is going to get over this hump to me, unless they get just a very good all-star like Bradley Beal. And then in this last trade, the Warriors will be taking advantage of Ben Simmons' terrible value right now. Ben Simmons just came off a playoff series and a playoff run where he didn't play well at all. He had some good defensive stretches, but other than that, he was ugly. So the Warriors would try to take advantage of that. They would send Andrew Wiggins and the 14th overall pick. Maybe they have to throw the 7th overall pick in there too, but they would send Andrew Wiggins for Ben Simmons. Now, if I'm the Sixers, I don't do this. I play Ben Simmons back into his original value. But if they're stupid enough to make a trade right now, then the Warriors should hop on it. The Warriors, if they can get a good passing forward that also has great defense, he can be your Draymond Green role, and maybe you can move Draymond Green for some other type of asset once you do this trade. But yeah, in the end of the day, the Golden State Warriors have their hands full this offseason trying to retain the best point guard of all time and soon to be greatest point guard of all time, Stephen Curry. If you like the video, make sure to click on the other videos on the screen. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, do all that. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Bill was boring and I do not be with that. Smoking on this tree, I eat with the cat. It be around me cause I don't trust a soul.